We are live. I will.
We're live too?
Yeah, but I forgot how to turn on. Yeah, we can do that right now if you want. Actually, yeah. Okay, we're live, sorry.
We're live, we're ready to go. I'll call the October 4th, local entity commission session meeting to order.
And
Roll call.
well, before we go through roll call, just a little housekeeping. King Simon's executive officer for the record. So today we are missing both our chair, Andy Vanderland, and our vice chair, Jim Desmond. So consistent with Robert Rules of Order and speaking with our council, our past chair, Joe McKenzie, will take over the duties for the day. So with that, acting chair, we can go ahead and do the roll call.
Roll call.
Commissioner Salas,
Here. Here.
Commissioner Desmond is absent. Commissioner Kate.
Here.
Commissioner McKenzie.
Here.
Commissioner Vanderland is absent. Commissioner Willis.
Here.
Commissioner McNamara.
Here.
Commissioner Vargas.
Order here.
Alternate Commissioner Becker.
Present.
Alternate Commissioner Anderson. Anderson is absent. Alternate Commissioner Von Wilbert is absent. Alternate Commissioner Drake. Alternate Commissioner Drake is absent. Alternate Commissioner Mathis.
Here.
Alternate Commissioner Mathis will vote in place of Commissioner Vanderland, who is absent. There's a quorum.
And just to add to that, I do believe we are expecting Commissioner Anderson at some point to come in, and when he does, he'll be voting in place of Commissioner Desmond. Thank you, Kim.
And theoretically, alternate Commissioner Drake was going to be here. And we have to say he's here. Traffic coming down 15 is pretty tight. Okay, on to item number 2 is Pledge of Allegiance.
You can stand, face the flag, place your right hand over your heart, and begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The agenda review and commission disclosures.
Thank you, Acting Chair. So on the agenda review, up until 8 o'clock last night, we weren't going to have any changes for you. But of course, we do have some changes today. So items 8C and 8D, as well as the 2 closed session items, are both going to be pulled at the request of the chair, acting chair, as a result of 2 of the 3 members of the executive officer compensation committee not being here today. Everything else, commission, stays the same. That means we do have 1 notice public hearing that's for the members to take up our final report on the Ramona Region Municipal Service Review, and then we do have few items still under business calendar for you to discuss, and then everything else is on the consent calendar. Now, I do have some thoughts, perhaps even suggestions on how we can go through today's agenda and the mechanics of it, but I'm going to defer that to the next item after we hear from council. So with that placeholder in mind, we're good to go on the agenda. Separately, We have a new item today, which is going to be on all future items, and that is, this is the opportunity for any of the commissioners to disclose any items, ex parte conversations with any of our applicants on the agenda. We only have one proposal today in the form of an applicant, and I'm going to ask Priscilla on the spot, what is the name of the City of Escondido, the landowner at Air Valley Road? What is his or her name? Sorry. That's okay. This is part of the test.
Adam Fair.
Adam Fair. So unless any ex parte communications from the commissioners with Adam Fair's, in silence, we'll assume none. We are good to go.
Thank you. We'll move on to item number 4, and that's the authority authorizing the remote hybrid meeting. I'm going to turn that over to Holly for the staff report.
Yes, good morning, commissioners. This is an item that reflects the governor signing AB 361, which is where the legislature has authorized local bodies to continue with hybrid or fully remote meetings if they make certain findings and revisit those findings every 30 days. Essentially here is if a state of emergency has been declared, or you have state or local public health officers recommending social distancing and or masking requirements, the local body can consider those and make findings that there is a threat to public health and safety for continuing exclusively in-person meetings. So here we have prepared a resolution that contains the findings. It cites the governor's original emergency order. It cites the most recent state public health officer order of June 11, which encourages physical distancing, social distancing, and also the county of San Diego's public health officer order of June 15. And their office continues also to recommend physical distancing. So based on those, we do recommend that you make those findings and adopt this resolution that would allow either hybrid or fully remote meetings. The hybrid meetings would need to continue to, as this one is doing, provide for physical distancing and compliance with any mask mandates that may be in place locally. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions. Otherwise, I'll turn it back over to the chair.
Are there any questions from the commissioners? Great.
Yes, no question, but a comment. The city of Chula Vista has been doing hybrid meetings since May, and it's accepted very favorably by the public. So I really support the action.
I'm going to apologize in advance. I could not really hear the question. I heard that the city of Chula Vista has been doing certain meetings since May, but
Yes.
Mr. Salas, is your little blue button?
Yes, it is. So yes, the city of Chula Vista has been conducting the hybrid meetings since May, both for our city council meetings and our commission meetings. It's very effective.
Any other comments?
I just want to say I concur. I prefer the hybrid meetings.
Any questions for our council? Hearing none, is there a motion to accept the resolution?
I'll second it.
I'll ask, is there anyone, I didn't see any hands raised, is there anyone on virtual, what to call it, would like to make a comment on this item 4?
Let me check in. So, this is a good time to actually talk a little bit about the mechanics. So we do have the ability not only for public comments in the chamber room, but we are still taking email comments live as we go through the agenda, so we can check in with Erica. Erica, any public comments on agenda item 4?
No, no live email comments for item 4.
Thank you, Judy.
Thank you. This is a new procedure for me too. So there's no comments from anyone on virtual, and I have a motion and a second to accept the approve the resolution. Roll call.
That's one point of clarification, so we are going to be able to continue as hybrid. That's just to clarify. Okay.
This is a 30-day option. This is a 30-day warranty. I come back and do this again in November.
Commissioner Vargas, Commissioner Kate,
Yes.
Commissioner McNamara,
Yes.
Commissioner McKenzie, Commissioner Willis,
Aye.
Commissioner Salas,
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson,
Aye.
Commissioner Mathis.
Yes.
You have 8 in favor, 0 opposed. The motion passes.
Thank you. Agenda item 5 is public comment and related requests. I'll start with those who are here. Are there any public comment from those who are here on any item that is not on the agenda? Okay. Any of those, the virtual? Any of those who aren't here, whose names are on the screen? Anyone would like to make a comment on any item that is not on the agenda?
Erica, what say you?
No live email comments for item 5.
Okay, thank you. Okay, item number 6 is the consent items. We have A through E. Now, is there any item that the commissioners would like to have pulled for further discussion? None here. Anyone on virtual who would like to pull a consent calendar item for further discussion? And anyone? Seeing none.
I make a motion.
Thank you very much.
Make a motion, we can go with the consent calendar.
I have a motion from Commissioner Willis. Is there a second?
Second, Salas.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Commissioner Salas,
Yes.
Commissioner Willis. Commissioner McKenzie,
Aye.
Commissioner McNamara,
Yes.
Commissioner Kate,
Yes.
Commissioner Vargas,
Order here.
Commissioner Anderson,
Aye.
alternate Commissioner Mathis.
Here, yes.
We have 8 in favor, 0 opposed. Motion passes.
Okay, item number 7A is public hearing. At this time, I will take the staff report, and then I will open up the for comments from the commissioners, and then open up the public.
Thank you, Acting Chair McKenzie. So I'm going to go ahead and start this item off, this item being the final report and some related actions that we have with the commission on our scheduled municipal service review on the Ramona region. I'm going to start off, offer up a prologue, if you will, and then I'm going to turn the bulk of the presentation over to Priscilla Allen. But for my part, the prologue is that LAFCOs are in the business of doing these municipal service reviews on a regular basis. And for the benefit of our newer commissioners, and certainly those in the Ramona region that I know we have engaged for the first time in this process, I wanted to offer up some context as to why we do these reviews and the ultimate purpose. And the why is the idea that LAFCOs are in a position to do this check-in, an independent check-in, to look at that relationship that exists in all communities between the demand, the availability, and ultimately, Commission, the adequacy of governmental services as they relate to growth and development, supporting growth and development. And then LAFCO takes this information that we generate and we apply it to our other growth management tasks and statute, right? And we do a sync up, and that sync up can lead oftentimes to updating spheres of influence, but it also can lead to effectuating some jurisdictional changes. Those jurisdictional changes can come in the form of establishing new governmental agencies, reconfiguring existing governmental agencies, and everything in between. In this particular case, we have identified a handful of sync-ups that make sense, that if the commission agrees, will, if not generate some additional discussion in the community, but in fact, in our minds, lead to some substantive changes in the way governmental services are provided in the Ramona region, right? So it's this context in mind, right? And I'm going to hand over the presentation to Priscilla Allen to go over our key conclusions and recommendations, and then I may have a comment or two at the end before you take public comment. So with that, Priscilla, it's all yours.
Good morning.
Is your mic on?
Oh, you're gonna need to speak up.
Thank you, Theo. I'll start again. Thank you, Keen, and good morning, Commission, and to those of you joining us virtually. For the record, my name is Priscilla Allen, analyst with San Diego LAFCO. So to begin, Commission, today I'll be presenting the final municipal service review on the Ramona region, which primarily focuses on the principal local governmental agency in the region, and under LAFCO oversight, the Ramona Municipal Water District. The item returns substantially intact from the draft presented in August. However, there were a few revisions which are attached to the agenda, and it was subsequently circulated for public review that generated some verbal comments as well as some written comments, all of which, again, is within the agenda. So proceeding forward today, Commission, the final MSR will allow you to satisfy two items. One, to satisfy that check-in requirement that Keen just summarized for us, where under statute, we independently evaluate the level, range, and adequacy of the municipal services relative to the needs of the community, and as you, the Commission, sees fit. And two, to concurrently allow LAFCO to move forward with a related sphere update, which staff anticipates bringing forth at a next scheduled Commission meeting. This said, and before asking the Commission to formally sign off on the municipal service review, I'd like to quickly recap what those key themes, conclusions, and recommendations were of this report. So as up on the screen, you have the total 8 key themes, of which I'll be highlighting 4. So one, Ramona is an evolving community that is continually and gradually moving toward a more suburban setting. 2, the expanded and centralized role of the Ramona Municipal Water District within this community as a local government unit in the area. 3, that they have adequate service capacities within the Ramona Municipal Water District, with one noted exception of wastewater constraints relative to permitted capacities during wet periods. And 4, that they have a solid financial standing without any noted exceptions. And so these were the main takeaways of the municipal service review, and these all tie into our recommendations, which are summarized on these next 3 screens and within your agenda. But I'll be focusing in on the last slide. And they total 14, but I'll highlight 3. The Ramona Municipal Water District and San Diego County Fire Protection District should consider a voluntary and friendly fire service consolidation under the San Diego Fire Protection District's greater economies of scale. 2, that the Ramona Municipal Water District has reached its natural limit under its Principal Act, and staff believes that there is an opportunity for the board to come with LAFCO and assess the merits of reorganizing into a community services district. And relatedly, that LAFCO should prepare an informational report to address incorporation standards, opportunities, and challenges as a resource going forward. And then just to add to this, this recommendation comes as well. Ramona has come to LAFCO in 2 past occasions with interest in incorporation. And so we think that this would provide a resource to them and to the county as well. And so here I've highlighted key takeaways and recommendations. And today is an opportunity to ensure that the commission is good with the approach and content of the final municipal service review and consider staff's recommendations to formally receive and file. In addition to our recommendation for the commission to adopt the draft resolution, making the required determinations. And again, after our review of the draft, I did participate at the Ramona Municipal Water District Board meeting where we did receive many verbal comments, and then we did receive the written comments as well. And for the record, we also received 8 public comments from Mr. Marshall, Ms. Porter, Ms. Burns, Mr. Ringo, Ms. Green, Mr. Marin, Mr. McIsaac, and Mr. Eastwood, as well as Mr. Chris Brown and Mr. Craig Schmolinger, which are both on the line with us today. So with this said, I will end my presentation and turn it back to Keen, but I am available to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Priscilla. Chair McKenzie, as we turn this item over to you for the commission to open up the hearing, hear from our public commenters, and ultimately weigh in on the recommendations before you, I want to go back to my comment earlier that part of the municipal service review function is to effectuate jurisdictional changes. Well, let me dive a little further into that. So there's 3 ways we use service reviews to effectuate changes. One is through the power of accommodation. That is when we know there's an applicant out there and we are addressing an applicant's inquiry as part of this report. That does not apply here. The other 2 could apply. One is the power of suggestion. Oftentimes your staff will identify opportunities to change the format of local governmental services and bring it forward as a recommendation for either the community or the affected agencies to consider. That is what we are doing today in a couple of key areas. We are suggesting to the community of Ramona that it makes sense that they hand off fire protection services to the county fire protection district. We are suggesting to the Ramona community that it makes sense that if they want to continue to evolve and provide more local control services, that they look to forming a community services district. And then last but not least, we are suggesting that history tells us incorporation interests come up every so often in this community. And it makes sense for the commission to perhaps prime up, if you will, and just create some baseline information on what that would mean under statute and what are the key thresholds. I mentioned there's this issue of accommodation. There's the idea of suggestion, which does apply in this report. What does not apply to this report is commission action. You certainly could, under state law, initiate your own proposals. That's not what we're saying here. This is staff bringing you some thoughtful suggestions. So I just wanted to make that. Be happy to answer questions as you see fit as you go through the hearing process.
Does anyone on the commission have a question? Mr. Bullock?
Yes, Priscilla, a lot of these comments based on what the Ramona board gave feedback to you on?
Yes.
The revisions?
Yes, Commissioner. The revisions were based on some of the feedback that we received from the water district. Some of the main themes that we saw were some considerations with regard to the water rates, the wastewater constraints. They provided a little context with that, which is what led to the revision. And then some questions with regard to our recommendation or suggestion as a community services district.
And did they seem happy with the number of the revisions that we made?
So far, so good. I didn't receive direct feedback on the revisions that were made, except for one email comment that I received for Mr. Craig Schmolinger, which is the GM of the Ramona Municipal Water District Board, and he's on the line with us today.
Any other feedback from the public in general about that?
We did receive opposing commentary. Most of their comments were with regard to their concerns with the formation of a community services district. There was a publication in the Ramona Sentinel which focused in on the CSD and that recommendation. And so I think when they read that, they provided some commentary. And what a lot of the themes that are within those comments are the taxes that may be induced by community services district, and then adding another level of government. And their concerns with the rural nature and keeping that. You're welcome.
Any other comments from the commission?
Yeah, so it appears like there's really two schools of thought in the community. One that get not incorporated and become a freestanding city, and then the other ones that are concerned about a change in structure, which might add taxes to them. However, they have less local control in that manner. So is it understood by them that the community facilities district is a step towards incorporation?
That's actually a topic that came up during my meeting with the Ramona Community Planning Group, as well as at the board meeting. And that is something I did explain, that it would add a little bit more local control, that they would now, they're right now limited under their Principal Act, but a community services district would come in and give them, if approved by the commission, 32 powers essentially. And so I think that's understood that it could lead to incorporation, which makes some people within the community excited. And then others in the community, as you said, two schools of thought, we don't want that. We would like to stay rural. And so, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
They have to have I think it's a petition, 25% of the voters just to change their labeling out.
Right, and that
So
is
it's all predicated and it's all reliant upon what the outcome, what the decision is for the Ramona residents. This is just an idea that we're throwing out because each one of them will allow that you can do services you can do under the community service district are basically most of the services other than planning that you can do as a city. And many community especially those in the central and the northern area, there's community service districts and they have no desire to incorporate. So it's just up there. This is an idea that LAFCO has presented them and they can take a run with it or not. So at this time, no more comments from the commission.
I do have another question, I'm sorry. Priscilla, did the issue come up, Ramona doesn't have a hospital. So did the issue come up about adequate ambulance coverage or ample paramedic coverage?
we did cover emergency medical services within the report. It came up as inadequate, but certainly something we can further look into.
Okay. When we approve this draft, provided we do, is this going to be revised at some point? We get other information in about always, or does it come like the final melody of it?
So the report itself is staff. So if there was information that came forward that was worth addressing, certainly, and have put a supplemental in the file. So what the commission is asked today is simply to accept that you received and filed the report as presented. What is yours that will go to the commission is the resolution that you adopt that includes the findings. Those would have to come back to you if there was a revision.
Any other questions? Commissioners are on virtual. Are there any questions, comments? Seeing none, I will open the public hearing, and is there anyone public online that would like to make any comments? And I don't see anyone's hand.
I believe, Erica, we have at least 2 members of the public, if not more, that are registered to speak on this. If we could bring those persons forward and state your name.
This is Robin Maxon. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so this is Robin Maxon. I'm chair of the Ramona Community Planning Group. My comments this morning, though, are my own. They're not representing the board. Previous incorporation explorations in our community were due to dissatisfaction with the county's response to Ramona's needs. Our county government now partners with our community. County staff works to resolve issues and to find ways to say yes to our request. That's a change from the past. Overall, Ramona is a rural community. We have 2 pockets of concentrated development. That's the town village, which has several apartment homes, houses, and businesses, and the very large San Diego Country Estate, a very large subdivision. If Ramona becomes a community services district, we could become responsible for up to 32 areas of responsibilities that require funding support. Ramona does not have a significant commercial business base to share in this funding, and a community services district does not have land use authority to change this. Therefore, the residents of Ramona would be shouldered with the financial responsibility. Any move forward toward a community services district should require extensive outreach to the community residents who would experience both the benefits and the consequences of such a change in governing. Thank you very much this morning, and thank you to Priscilla Allen. She really helped with my many questions.
Thank you. Any other comments? Chris, you have a comment?
Yeah, yes, did you, Chair McKenzie, did you call me?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. The connection isn't that great. Yes, my name is Chris Brown. I represent Cumming Ranch, a project that was entitled in the unincorporated areas of Ramona several years ago. I want to thank at this time Keene and Priscilla for their assistance and information. We filed a letter to be included in the next phase of this situation, and we appreciate the opportunity to speak today and again to thank Keene and Priscilla as we move forward into the next phases. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Now we have the acting GM for the Water District. Any comments?
Yes, good morning. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Excellent, thank you. Yeah, my name is Craig Smallinger. I'm the current acting general manager of the Ramona Water District. I just wanted to briefly thank LAFCO staff for working with us over the last 2+ years in compiling the information that went into a sizable portion of this report. It's obviously a difficult process with the ongoing pandemic and staff. We definitely appreciate LAFCO's staff, in particular Priscilla and previously Ed Sprague, for working with our board with 2 presentations, one virtual, one in person, to our board of directors, excuse me, on LAFCO's process and this MSR specifically. I would also like to highlight the positive working relationship that the Water District shares with both CAL FIRE and with the County of San Diego through their County Fire Protection District in providing those fire protection services. LAFCO's comment is noted, and our Water District Board has established a working ad hoc group that is working with the County of San Diego and other groups exploring options as well. I also wanted to respond because we were unavailable during the first draft iteration of the MSR presentation to respond to one of the comments that a commissioner mentioned about the sizable improvements that the district has made in hardening our water infrastructure in relation to the 2007 Witch Creek fire. So I wanted to note that we appreciate Priscilla and Keene and the rest of LAFCO staff in incorporating the district's comments that highlight those sizable improvements to ensure that we have adequate water supplies and reliability in the face of, power damages or public safety power shutoffs and so on. There's also one area that we wanted to note, and we very much appreciate the comments and the revisions that LAFCO staff included and incorporated with some last minute comments that the district provided. One of those has to do with recommendation number 3 regarding the noted excess inflow and infiltration concerns for the Santa Maria wastewater reclamation plant. So we also submitted some comments, and we'd like to see, hopefully, the commissioners consider some additional language at the end of that revised paragraph, something to the effect that we have not exceeded our permitted capacities that we have at the plant, which are defined as 30-day moving average dry flow weather related flows, and not wet weather flows affected by the noted high rain periods. Therefore, the treatment capabilities of the treatment plant are not deficient at this point in time, and the plant has capabilities to handle those instantaneous peak flows. And that concludes my presentation. I'm available for comment. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that's zooming in have a comment? Hearing none. So you want to address on this comment?
Yes, thank you, Craig, so much for attending today and for your comments. I did receive your email this morning with what he just noted is he'd like to add a paragraph to one of our recommendations. We did, again, make the revision to that recommendation that stated that our recommendation is relative to the permitted capacities. And so it would be up to the commission if they would like to proceed in adding his recommendation or his suggestion in rewording. I'll hand it off to Keen and if he has additional comments.
Yeah, thank you, Priscilla, and thank you, Craig. I think staff has met the spirit of Craig's comment already in our revisions, where we have gone specifically to address the permit capacity issue being interest to LAFCO, which was absent from the draft report. So I think we are good with respect to Craig's comment, and certainly will include a copy of Craig's email in the file, I think, to substantiate the district's position. So from my perspective, I think we're all good.
One more time, is there anyone else on the line that would like to make any comments? Any comments from Mr. Spear? Hearing none, I will close the public hearing. Any further discussion? Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to adopt the regulation.
I'll second.
I guess with revisions, I would say, would that be including with revisions too?
Doesn't have to. In fact, I would suggest go forward with staff recommendation, and we'll address the email from Craig offline.
That work for everyone? I have a motion from Commissioner Willis and a second from Commissioner Ellis. We'll do a roll call.
Commissioner Vargas,
Yes.
Commissioner Kate,
Yes.
Commissioner McNamara,
Yes.
Commissioner McKenzie, Commissioner Willis,
Aye.
Commissioner Salas,
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson.
Aye.
Commissioner Mathis.
Yes.
You have 8 in favor, 0 opposed, with 2 absent. The motion passes.
Thank you all. Appreciate the input. Moving on to item number 8, my business calendar. Item number A is the first quarter update on the adopted work plan.
Well, thank you, Acting Chair. So I'll take this item, which in and itself marks a new quarterly practice for LAFCO staff to come out of the comfort of the shadows of the consent calendar and have a more deliberative discussion about what we're up to vis-a-vis your adopted work plan. It also happens to give staff the opportunity to report back on a referral that the commission, by way of the chair, made to staff at our last meeting by way of a comment that we received from Patricia Borchman about perhaps adding to our adopted work plan. But with that said, I don't know if perhaps I didn't give you my slides. If not, that's fine. So what we have in terms of today in our adopted work plan is a report that all is relatively well. We have proceeded with just about half of the 30 adopted work plan projects in some substantive manner, meaning that they're underway. And I think attachment 1 to your general report actually shows the status of all 30 projects. And certainly that includes 2 that are already complete, right? We, with the help of Tammy and Dew, certainly we have completed the long-awaited move out of the county's operations center in Green Mesa, and we're now in our private commercial space in Bankers Hill. We've also, by way of the commission, developed and now adopted a policy on translation protocols. So those are the 2 projects that we have completed through the first quarter. A third project is certainly nearing the goal line, and that involves the Fallbrook Rainbow Ad Hoc Committee. I'm going to talk a little bit about that during the executive officer report as well. So in going forward, there are 3 projects in the work plan that are part of our top 10. There it is, dude. There's our top 10. So on this screen, within the top 10, there's 3 that I think are going to come into greater focus during the second quarter that I want to just get the commission or put it on the commission's radar. First, we have this long discussed and ever needed change to LAFCO law, Government Code Section 56.3, that we started last year, but we hit pause with the COVID pandemic, but we're going to restart again. And Commission, this is the need to rectify what has turned out to be a bit of a blind spot in the section of law that tells you and your brethren in all 57 counties that you are responsible for overseeing contract approvals for cities and districts to provide services outside their jurisdictional boundaries. The blind spot has been the section of law includes this list of exemptions. Notionally, it makes sense since it's LAFCO law that LAFCO decides when those exemptions apply. The time that does happen. However, as we have found out, there are instances here in San Diego and throughout California where local agencies are simply self-exempting themselves. And it's creating a bit of havoc, not only for LAFCO, but as it turns out with other governmental agencies. For those commissioners who've been here on the dais for a while, you'll recall there was an issue involving Coronado and Imperial Beach. That dispute was involved in this particular code section, came to LAFCO. We've had disputes between 2 or more resource conservation districts that have ended up coming to LAFCO. And right now we're dealing with 2 healthcare districts in a dispute that deal with this code section. And if we just had explicit wording that said LAFCO's determined exemptions, your cost for legal counsel probably would go down quite a bit. So we are working on this section right now. We've got the assistance now of Palo Alto, and I anticipate providing a more specific update at our next meeting. There's 2 other municipal service reviews that are going to take precedence over the next quarter. One involves the Fallbrook Rainbow region, which among other things is the gatekeeper to the reorganization proposals that we have on file. Rainbow and Fallbrook water districts want to switch wholesale providers. I anticipate the Fallbrook Rainbow MSR coming to you in some form at your next meeting, so that will be some time well spent. And then, after a couple of years of discussions behind the scenes, we are finally moving forward, I believe, with part 2 of our two-part Escondido Regional MSR. For those commissioners that were here, the first part involved the special districts in Escondido. That got completed 2 years ago. By way of a unique arrangement, Escondido was going to do their service review component and bring it to us. There's been some stops and restarts along the way on their end. I anticipate bringing you something as early as December on that. That report is going to do a couple of things. Once we're done, that means that certain proposals are going to have the ability then to come forward, like Harvest Hills, which is a big issue for our friends in the San Pasqual Valley. And then also we have this pending governance study for the Escondido region that we've already committed to doing by way of a request from the city of Escondido to look at this existing overlap where you have the city of Escondido in Rincon del Diablo with overlapping boundaries and overlapping services. Once we are complete, or once we complete that MSR in Escondido, that's going to give us the baseline information we need to do the governance study. So, in 3 projects that are going to take precedence over the second quarter, I'd be happy to talk about any of the items on the work plan as the commission sees fit. But I did want to return now to this referral that the chair provided to staff at the last meeting. You will recall Patricia Borchman approached the commission and correctly noted we don't have policies at this LAFCO with respect to our activities in fire-prone areas. And the question to the commission was, why not? And the chair looked at staff and said, why not? Well, we thought about it. We kicked the tires on that discussion a little bit. And we agree it's something that merits some discussion at the commission level. We don't think it necessarily fits well into our current work plan, but we do see an opportunity to sync it up with a project we have slated for fiscal year 24, which is our update of our fire service study for all of San Diego County. We kind of commonly refer to that as our macro report. The commission did a report back in 2005, 2006. We called it the macro report, which led to a lot of present day situations with now the creation of the San Diego County Fire Protection District. Staff believes, and we have a letter from Ms. Borchman in your packet that agrees that syncing that policy review to that study makes sense. So our response to the referral is, we'll get to it, but in 2 years, not this year. So that's my overview. Again, this is a practice just to keep the commission more deliberatively aware of what we're up to. If you have any questions, great. Any direction, great. If not, we'll come back at the next quarter with another update.
Do you have any questions?
Keith, this might be unrelated, but I was wondering how the UC Berkeley professor who's doing the report, or where does that stand? Is that going to come out soon?
Yes, in fact, I can give a little more detail as part of the executive office report. I wanted to talk about the ad hoc then, so I can get to that item in context of the ad hoc committee's meeting today in just a little bit.
Commissioners online, any questions, any comments? Commissioner Anderson?
No, I don't have any. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Mathis?
None.
Online. Commissioner? Oh, Commissioner Beckett? Any questions?
No, thank you. I think that was a great summary. Thank you so much.
We are good to go then, Chair. We'll do an update in January.
And I think this is basically just informational, so it's a kind of a note file. On the item B, informational report, Bill 9 and the California Home Act.
Thank you, Acting Chair. This item gives us a twofer. On one hand, it's an opportunity to talk and learn a little bit about some recent legislation that certainly impacts our cities in the county, but also, as we will discuss, LAFCO, and then separately, but relatedly, this gives us an opportunity to meet our graduate intern extraordinaire, Carol Hero Nima, who's been doing some great work for us behind the scenes. And I asked her to give us a primer on this bill and specifically what it means to LAFCO. And by way of the world of virtual Zoom, if we can bring Carol to it, and if Carol's not there, you're going to do this presentation. So.
I'm here. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Carol.
Okay. All right. So yeah. Hi. Welcome everybody. Good morning, commissioners and those attending virtually. My name is Carol Ann Neiman, and as Keen said, I am the graduate intern for LAFCO. So, if we can please pull up the slides, I'd like to begin my presentation. Okay, great. Thank you. So today I am presenting to you guys on Senate Bill 9. And I want to begin by going over what is Senate Bill 9. But before that, I do want to highlight that this bill focuses on expanding housing supply in the state of California. But in doing so, this impacts both directly and indirectly nearly all planning agencies in the state, including and importantly LAFCOs. So getting into what SB 9 is, SB 9 creates by right and/or ministerial powers to landowners that trump local zoning. There are a few arguments that were invoked in the passing of this through legislation. There are a few listed here, but I did want to just highlight a couple of them with you. They come from Senator Toni Atkins of San Diego, who actually authored the California Home Act. So she believes that SB 9 can promote small-scale neighborhood residential development by streamlining the process for homeowners to create a duplex and/or split an existing lot. Additionally, she believes the bill provides flexibility for multi-generational housing, where by allowing homeowners to build a modest-sized unit wherein, say, an adult child or their aging parent can live at a more affordable cost. It is also noted that the bill includes certain safeguards to ensure that these duplexes and lot splits are done so responsibly. Can we please go to the next slide, June? Okay, can you go to the next slide? Yeah, I'm here. I don't see the next slide, so. But I can just continue. I don't know if you guys can see it on your end, but on virtually we cannot.
Give us 1 second, Carol. Let's put you on the spot here. Let's get that second slide. Not, you might have to continue.
No worries, I see it now. Thank you, Ju. Alrighty, so getting into some background and context on SB 9 and how it works, I do want to note that there is the driving force behind SB 9 is this idea that modest density can lead to large scale housing production. So how that can work is the bill allows property owners to split their single family residence into 2 lots and place up to 2 units in each. So this can create the potential for up to 4 housing units. However, there are some exceptions that apply. For one, any unit that wants to do the duplex or split, they have to be located in a city, the boundaries of which have some portion of an urbanized area or urban cluster. Additionally, any unit that is considered a historical landmark or located in a historical district or fire hazard zone are exempt from the legislation. And lastly, any proposed project or split cannot alter or demolish any affordable or rent-controlled housing or market rate housing that has been occupied by a tenant in the last 3 years. So these are a few that I wanted to go over, but the legislation does include a list of other exceptions that apply. So segueing into a study done by the University of California, Berkeley, they did an evaluation of the legislation prior to its passing. And within this report, they did provide some great statistical information and how this directly relates to the state of California and most importantly to San Diego County. So I do want to highlight some of the data they provided, which notes there are 554,502 total single family parcels located in San Diego County. An estimated 72% or an exact number 398,386 are SB 9 eligible. So although there's this high number of eligible parcels located in San Diego County, they estimate that about 9,015 will be created via the new there will be 9,015 new market feasible single-family residence generated via the ministerial lots, because there are certain market and physical conditions that limit the applicability and provisions of SB 9. So they estimated this will account for a 2.3% change in the number of parcels in the county. And can we please go to the next slide? Awesome, thank you. So tying this into what it means to LAFCOs, particularly San Diego LAFCO, this legislation is creating two new dynamics for the commission to consider. One is when evaluating jurisdictional changes, and the other is when updating the spheres of influence. Because we now have to address the ability of subject agencies to accommodate the projected service needs now that there are additional by right allowances on top of local zoning. So I do want to just conclude my presentation by reminding you all this is for informational purposes only, and it will be an evolving process for LAFCO going forward on how we intend to address the stated impacts. But I do want to thank you all for your time and allowing me to present today. And if you do have any questions or comments, please let us know. I'll go ahead and pass this back to the chair and our team.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Comments?
I have a comment. One of the problems with SB 9, as I see it, is that it preempts the zoning prerogatives of the local communities. And this is the first time that I know of that the state has intruded in what has always been a local prerogative. And I'm worried not only about this intrusion, but also that it may foretell other efforts by the state to intrude into areas that have been reserved for local communities. It sets a precedent, I think.
Thank you. Anyone else on virtual would like to make a comment? Any of the commissioners? Alternate commissioners?
I just have a quick comment.
Yes.
Okay. Is that Carol's first presentation?
Yes.
Okay, Carol, great job. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Any comments? Okay. I'll keep my comment. I do have a question for clarification. You indicated that there were approximately 9,000 parcels that could take advantage of SB 9, and that related to 2.3%. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, but each one of those parcels can have a duplex, which is 2. So 2 times 9,000, that's 18,000 single family residents, which would equate then maybe to 4.6. Is my math correct? You're
I'm
right.
sorry. I can't really hear too clearly.
Okay. As Commissioner Mathis said, this will definitely change the background of many of the communities. So it will be interesting to see how this plays out over the years.
Thank you, Carol.
Thank you. Thank you, Carol. That was a good presentation. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
So moving on along, that takes us through the business calendar. And we have item number 9 is the executive officer report, which we are all waiting.
Thank you, Chair McKenzie. So 2 items to brief the commission on. First and foremost, and he's in the audience, I'm very pleased to announce we've brought on Steve Abbott, former fire chief for now North County Fire Protection District, to take over for the second or the retired twice now Ed Spray. Steve is going to help us with our municipal service review work, and then certainly our proposals involving fire protection. And we are very fortunate to have this expertise on hand. And then alluding to Commissioner Willis's question a little bit earlier about our good professor from UC Berkeley, who's been helping us out with the Fallbrook Rainbow Ad Hoc Committee. Today's a big day for the Ad Hoc Committee. They're meeting at 1:30 virtually, and the professor is going to be presenting his draft conclusions on two of the three key topics that we have tasked him to advise and to get the ad hoc committee's input on before we bring them to you as part of these proposals by Fallbrook and Rainbow to leave the water authority. One of those topics being what is the potential rate impacts to the other 22 member agencies of the County Water Authority should Fallbrook and or Rainbow leave. And right now, his draft analysis says, based on a lot of moving parts, it could be as low as 11, it could be as high as 40 million a year. And then the second key comment or conclusion that he's bringing forward to the ad hoc committee deals with the potential of a departure fee. And I sent out a memorandum on this topic just to kind of summarize the issue. But right now, he's identified two plausible scenarios in which LAFCO could, if they felt it was appropriate, could apply a departure fee that would run over a 10-year period anywhere between, I believe, 80 to $140 million in total. Now that's before some anticipated smoothing is going to happen as the professor takes in some new information, but that's where we are today. In the meetings at 1:30, I expect a good conversation, and the ad hoc committee is likely going to take some type of formal action, a vote, some sort in November, and then staff's going to bring this to the commission most likely early 2022. So for those who have time at 1:30, please take a gander at our YouTube page and you will see us in action. It is online. We have a page dedicated to the Fallbrook Rainbow proposal, I believe due under resources on the vertical tab, horizontal tab. One of those tabs will say resources.
Any questions?
The link for the meeting on, is the link for the meeting on the website?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Now, any commissioners, any item that you foresee being on the next agendas? Some burning agenda item? Those who are on virtual, are there any questions, comments? Anything that you would like to see on the next agenda or the next one after that? Next couple of agendas? I don't see anyone jumping. So that takes us through item 9. Item 10, commissioner announcements.
I wanted to introduce Samantha Tricky out there in the audience. So I had a longtime staff member, Alberto Vasquez, on to consultation. I wish him well. But now the Tricky lady, my policy.
Any other comments? Being done, we'll go to item number 12. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
We're closed session?
No, we pulled that.
Shocking.
That'll be next.
That is totally shocking.
That'll be next month. Thank you.